Welcome to the Hope Athletics Orange and Blue podcast. My name is Alan Babbitt, Sports Information Director here at Hope College, and looking forward each week to bringing you interviews with different Hope College coaches and staff, and so we get to know the people that lead our teams, our student athletes. Here with me today is Dave Brandt of the men's soccer program. Obviously, a different looking summer than any he's encountered in his distinguished coaching career, but one I know after visiting a practice last week there, he's determined to make the most out of, and we'll get to know the Flying Dutchmen soccer team. And Dave, you've had a couple weeks with your guys. Just take us through this team, and what do you see that you have as you practice this fall?
So I think this is it's sort of a big changeover time for the team. I think the last 2 years, what was a little bit more kind of what I inherited here. We've got a big, and I think quite good and quite going to be impactful 2020 class. And I think that's brought a different feel, if that makes sense. And so really right now the team is half returners and half freshmen, one transfer as well. So new guys. And so, that can be good, bad, or in the middle, depending on the team, the situation, et cetera. I think for us, number one, it is what it is. That's our situation. But number two, I think it's a really good thing. It's an excellent 2020 class, highly committed group of returners. And I think it's been a good mix and a really interesting couple of weeks.
With that, as you sort out what this team, talk about your style and what you want out of your soccer team, and particularly this group as they evolve. It was fitting in new pieces and finding that. What do you look to have this soccer team be able to turn into, and how they're going to play the game?
I think the last two seasons we've sort of established a general style of play, fast, high tempo, high pressing, skillful, hopefully intelligent. That's what we're shooting for sure. Playing on the ground, playing quote unquote good soccer, but attacking soccer at a very high pace. And so, those are sort of the umbrella generalities. And, that I'm always tweaking systems and that sort of thing. And so we've done a little bit of that, but the umbrella stuff remains the same. But I think, the critical thing that we've worked very hard on, not only these last 3 weeks, but frankly, the entire off season, the entire focus of the summer conditioning program, I just really rate and value through the roof the power of will, the impact of mental strength, of mental toughness. Once you get to a certain point where you can play the game, you've got good players, and we're not the most talented team in the country. I mean, we're not, and I tell our guys that regularly. That's just a fact. But we do have enough talent, and we are a good enough team right now to compete with anybody and to play. And so I think when that happens, you enter the realm, at least the way I operate. I don't know how to do it otherwise. If somebody else does, obviously more power to them. But for me, the just the issue of being mentally fierce and mentally stronger and more cohesive than any other team. And, some of this borders on cliche, but the reality is, I think for me, there's a very high bar for what mental strength, mental toughness is. I just know it to be the key / secret ingredient to becoming a champion. And so that's been a huge focus for this team over the last number of months. And frankly, to get slightly philosophical on you and anybody listening, I think the things I'm looking for are a natural battle in this culture, in this day and age. Far be it from me to be some sort of old school guy talking here like back when I was young. But it's a challenge for everybody, just given human nature. And I think it's a harder challenge in 2020 than it was 15 years ago and 30 years ago, just by virtue of it being we all live in a pretty good and pretty entitled society, and those things with that just unconsciously work against the things that I want and the things that I think are important to create not only a winner, but just an out and out champion. So big agenda. We got lots going on.
With establishing leadership and having that kind of culture, obviously when it's player driven, it makes a big impact and goes, as we've seen, goes a long way. The leadership of this team, how do you sort that out to establish that and to get it something? Obviously, everyone's important, but every team seems to have some leaders that really help push the team forward? What have you done? What are you guys working there to kind of have that, so that's building as you progress this season?
Well, yeah, and there's a lot in that question, and obviously it's a relevant and good question. I'm my first season here, we just didn't have captains. I mean, I was the captain, and people can like that or not like that. I felt that was what was necessary. To have had captains would have been pure sort of show, just to have a couple guys we can say are captains. And I'm a pretty reality-based guy, and I felt at that point the reality was I didn't need anybody sort of trying or pretending to be a leader. It was, and again, this can come off however anybody wants it to come off. But look, they just needed to do what I said. And of course, hey, look, I needed to do a good job with that. I mean, the responsibility is on me then. And if I don't, that'll come out in the wash as well. But, that has progressed and evolved. And leadership is partly about captains and team leaders. And so we've got 3 captains this year, as we did last year, that I think are the right guys to do that. So 2 seniors, Dominic Byrne and Ty Dalton, and then a junior, Ryan Flynn. And, I think those guys are de facto the team leaders in the heart of the team anyway, and have good relationships and just open lines of communication with me. And so I think that's a good situation. That being said, I've always been a really big person for I'm not a great captain person. And even in the past, at Messiah and at Navy, there were seasons I didn't have captains. There were seasons I had 1 captain, seasons I had 4, seasons I had 2. So, I go by feel and intuition a little bit. And part of the reason that I've done that in the past is, my strong philosophy is that everybody in our team, in essence, essentially needs to do things that captains do. And that may sound odd or different to some, but it's the way that I've operated. The way we define leadership, it's accessible to everybody. It's not only accessible to these upperclassmen or whatever it happens to be. And so, like I said, I've done different things. I think in most cases we've had captains, and that's, normal and appropriate and that sort of thing, as we do now. But there's also a high bar in our team for expecting everybody to lead, by being responsible for themselves, first leading themselves, and then doing things to sharpen not only themselves, but other players on the team. Once you get that sort of mentality bought into, all of a sudden there's this expectation that everybody's a leader, and it doesn't necessarily become an upperclassman or a captain thing. But then my final point would be, what you said. I mean, the transfer of the vision and the belief from the coach to a shared burden for that, if you like, with the players is really critical. And any coach knows that. We call this buy-in or sharing the load. I sometimes tell the guys, when I feel like it's not where it ought to be in that category, I'll look at them and I'll say, you guys are heavy. You're on my back right now. I have to carry you. I'll do it, but you're heavy. It would sure help if you guys started, standing on your own 2 feet and running, and, feel free to carry me. I'm willing to carry, but I'm not opposed to being carried, if that makes sense figuratively. And so, I think we're right in that process where, in a bigger and better way than the 2 years I've been here so far, and it's a process, guys are beginning to understand that that's necessary, that I certainly can't play for them and won't. And so it's necessary not only that they do that work, but just emotionally and in terms of their will and who they are, that they are carrying this load. And so I'm thinking, and I'm certainly hoping, that transfer is happening now.
One of your former players here at Hope has joined the coaching staff this year, Ryan Woodside. Talk about him and what he brings to your staff and to this team, and also obviously returning Tyler Robinson in goal. Just talk about that dynamic and how they're assisting you with shepherding this team.
Ryan Woodside, affectionately known as Woody, to anybody who doesn't know him, but he's been a huge sort of pick-me-up. Now, weirdly, he joined the staff early last March, and for anybody thinking or doing the math in their head, that was both a good and a really crummy time to join anything, right, last March, because to be fair, he got a couple weeks of just sort of meetings with me and doing some things, but he got exactly 2 days of spring practice before COVID hit. And so it's been this odd sort of waiting period with Woody having been part of the staff for a while now. But we finally got to start training here a few weeks ago. It was sort of a long time coming, given the fact that he'd been here since March and, was ready to join the staff. But he's been a huge addition to us, just with his, again, it's sort of cliche, the word passion overused. Woody just cares deeply for the program. He was sort of a part of some difficult years in, whatever it was, 15, 16, and 17, his first 3 years, was a senior to be when I got here in 18. And I think just really cares for the direction of the program. And that's, to me, his biggest and best coaching quality. So I don't know how that sounds, but to me, that's a quality that probably matters most when you break it down. Sure, he was a good player. He's tactically adept. He's an aspiring young coach, all that good stuff. But he just cares deeply about the program. And even though he's not a Hope grad, Tyler Robinson does as well. Tyler Robinson, by the way, played at Michigan State, our goalkeeper coach, but married a Hope women's soccer player. So I hope he gets points from anybody listening on that. He's one of us. For lots of
good smarts.
Exactly. So, but I think it's just a really good combination. The guys love both of the assistants just sincerely and deeply. I think we're good foils off of each other, the three of us, and sort of the different roles we take and different approaches. And then both guys are really good at what they do. So we just need a chance to work together. I mean, we are working together, but when we're finally allowed to play and that sort of thing, as everybody knows, then we'll be really excited.
With you allude to that with the unusual fall with no games this fall and the practice. Obviously, getting news today from the MIAA about what the spring competition is going to look like. How have you approached this fall in your time with the guys? To obviously you had to pivot to a different, without games there to have once or twice a week. But what have you focused on with this fall to try to help this team develop and progress the way that you'd like to see them progress?
I think we're in a slightly unusual situation. Certainly not the only team in the country in the situation we're in, but we were going to be very young anyway. And so, the silver lining, so to speak, if there is one in the situation, because nobody wants not to play. I mean, nobody's happy with this, of course, and we would never choose this, but given the fact that it's a reality, I think it is a unique opportunity for us. It's essentially a redshirt year for a very young and I think reasonably talented team. And I think if you put both those things together, I do think it has not taken much convincing from me or much smoke and mirrors or whatever to convince the team that we've, we're doing something here and we've potentially got something here and we've no time to lose. And so I think there has been a huge sense of urgency and intensity that might be harder to produce or might not exist, say, if we had a junior and senior laden team who'd had a good amount of success and this sort of thing. And now, we've got to ride it out and try to get better over whatever, a full semester at minimum, possibly a full year before we can play again and this sort of thing. And so I just think given our situation, as young as we are, really no seniors anyway. I mean, the seniors we have more eligibility. And so that's a strange situation too that we're all dealing with. But it's a very young team that knows they have a chance to be pretty good, but knows they're not there yet. And so I think it's a great situation for us. We've been super busy. And, for anybody listening that knows the guys or the team, the guys trained extremely hard all summer, played, ran their tails off, and we've just picked up where they left off. And so the fact that there's not games right now is a big deal, but has been somewhat tangential to us. I mean, we've sort of kept our heads down and done our thing.
With the work, how often are you practicing now? And just kind of describe that. What's the situation like?
Yeah, so
114 days,
right.
With the NCAA rules.
New NCAA rules with the possibility of games in the spring and the allowance of increased practice time, all of which I'm absolutely thrilled with. That's awesome. We have to be careful not to use all our allowable practice days in the fall. What we're doing, I mean, to answer your question exactly, we train on the field Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and twice on Saturday. We go Saturday morning and Saturday night because that only counts as one day, and we can because it's a Saturday. So that's great as far as coach is concerned anyway, but I think our guys have been great with it. With strength training, kind of an intense strength training session on Thursday, with also some strength training after the soccer on Monday and Saturday morning. So that's 3 times a week. Tuesday is either off or a meeting day. So we're taping this on Wednesday sitting here. We met just about some sort of team culture things yesterday on Tuesday. So that may or may not happen. So, one way or another, we're being a little bit careful with our days, using our soccer time well, but the guys are super busy, and that's the way we're going about it.
Now, I think from what I understand, it's going to be about 50% of what you usually will be in the spring. When we get to spring and hopefully have some games, what do you hope to see? What opportunities are they going to provide in the spring when you do get a chance to finally play somebody else?
Right. Well, I mean, Jen, just to clarify for people, we normally get only one spring out-of-season game allowed. That's a different subject. I can share my thoughts on that some other time, if asked, Alan, if asked. You may not ask. And first of all, spring is not a given for anybody with what's going on with COVID. I think there's a hope that we can play, certainly a hope that winter and spring season, teams that are in season can play at hope. But if we get a chance and are able to play between 5, 7, 9 games, that sort of thing, I do think that's possible. I don't know that it's probable, but I do think it's possible. And if we get a chance, I mean, that's going to be a fantastic chance for us to put into action and to the test all that we've been working on through this fall. And, people maybe know, some people maybe know, but it goes without saying then that if we play 9 games or less, I think the way it is, it saves a year of eligibility for everybody. So that plays into your question. It just kind of free games from an eligibility standpoint, a chance to gain more experience, to put into practice, and again, to the test, the things that we've been doing. And so it'd be a huge bonus, frankly. I mean, and look, everybody wants to play. And so we're dying for it to happen, but we'll see where things go.
Obviously, during these challenging times, we all kind of finding our ways to keep ourselves sane. Obviously, soccer is a big part of your life, big part of, kind of who you are and how you think. But I imagine there's some things you enjoy doing to get a break and relax a little bit. What does Dave Brandt do to relax and, take his mind off maybe soccer for just a few minutes, maybe?
You'd have my wife answer this question and not me, but since she's not here and you asked me, I'll do my best. She would bust out laughing. What do I do to relax? But hey, it's not best for. I struggle to relax, but it works for me. Let me say that. I think it fuels me, and it's worked okay so far. But no, I mean. Yeah, of course, it's been a strange time. But I think regardless, we've learned that sort of the West Michigan late spring and certainly summer and early fall are just unbelievable weather-wise, and we're very much outdoors people. So we love to hike, occasionally go to the beach, but just hike, be active, walk, be outside, bike, that sort of thing. And so what a wonderful time. And during the summer, when we do have extra time, and what a wonderful place to be, because, I'm not from here, as I think people know, more from the East and Mid-Atlantic. And I'm telling you, this area, which everybody in Michigan and the upper Midwest knows about, nobody where I'm from has any clue how amazing it is out here. So we spread the word, we tell them, and they're just like, really? Wow, I had no idea, which was the boat I was in. But yeah, it's that. You and I chatted before we recorded the call. Our dog, Gracie, is somewhat infamous already, certainly among the soccer teams, men and women, if not to an extent on campus, because she's a 10-pound, half Bichon, half Shih Tzu, and she's just part of our family. And not that she's at every practice. That's not true, but it's a true story. She was at the team meeting yesterday, and that's not unusual. So she goes and says hello to the women's team if Lee will not interrupt their practice, but if Lee Sears will have it, she'll say hi to some of the girls, and then hang out during our meeting and kind of say hi to the guys while we meet. So it's a bit of the alter side of me. The guys know I've got my coaching voice and I've got my Gracie dog voice, and it's a never-ending sort of source of comedy and intrigue to them. They're still trying to figure me out, but yeah, it's that realm of things.
What, have you always been a dog person, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. So the deal on us, and my wife Diane is as well. I mean, I had dogs growing up. So did Diane, I think, for the most part. But our entire married life, we've had dogs. Most of which have been much loved, but utter failures. Failures on our side. We didn't train them well. They were food driven, sort of too much about themselves. Had to leash them, all the time, whatever. So that's what makes Gracie the best. She cares about nothing other than being with us and pleasing us. This is the great thing about dogs, right? She was apparently a little bit better trained, and yeah, she's just our buddy, goes wherever we go. So, in our old age, we finally hit the jackpot and gotten it right after having dogs. She also doesn't shed, with no offense to any shedding dogs. That's big. We had shedders growing up, and so I felt like I had a vacuum tied to my hand most of the time around the house. But yeah, hey, eventually you stick with it long enough, you get it right. So
yeah, exactly. Right. Well, good. Well, thanks, Dave. It's been great to chat with you, and good luck this fall with your team. And yeah, fingers crossed, we'll hopefully have some games to watch and see this young, exciting team hopefully sooner than later.
Sounds good. Thanks, Alan.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dave.